What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 30th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Victory Monday, a very decisive Victory Monday, NFC East Championship Victory Monday. It's a good day to be an Eagles fan. So much to get into. Based on everything that happened yesterday, the Eagles are locked into that 2 seed, meaning they will have to play 3 games in order to get to the Super Bowl. 2 of them will be guaranteed at home. The third, depending on whoever gets the number 1 seed out of the NFC Central, they would have home field. So shaping up good for the Eagles. I still think it's crazy that it's been 20 years since there's been a repeat champion, and I think it's a testament to just the division in general. I think in those 20 years, it's been, for the most part, Eagles Cowboys, minus the COVID year when they were all terrible. But for the most part, over the past 20 years, it's been a solid division. Not how it was growing up, but just it's still crazy that there's only been none since the Eagles did it back in 2004. Congratulations to Saquon for going over 2,000 yards. 9th player to ever do that. And it's going to be a lot this week. Begs the question, do you play him? He needs 101 yards to break Eric Dickerson's record. And it's very early on in the week. As I always do, I kind of just give you my notes without really looking at post-game interviews and things like that. I did see more than what I normally would today. But just early reactions here on a Victory Monday. I think you handle it. It depends. And I think a lot comes down to Jalen. And I feel as though if Jalen is cleared this week, I would like to see him get a few reps just so he kind of remains sharp. You don't necessarily want him going into a playoff game having been off the previous 2 weeks. I do think if there's anybody that can handle that it's Jalen. So right now I'm thinking you handle it as like an old school preseason game where you let them play for a quarter, maybe into the second quarter, see how things are going and evaluate it from there. If Saquon needs like 30, 40 yards, maybe you kind of keep pounding it to him. But I think he summed it up best where he didn't sign here to break records, win divisions, or anything like that. You got to do what's best for the team. I just think I would like to see Jalen get a few reps just to kind of get some of that rust from not playing this week off. But that's where I stand on a Monday. As the week goes, my opinion might change because essentially there's nothing they can do to improve or lose playoff position. They are locked into that 2 seed. So for the most part, there's not really a reason for them to play. Kenny Pickett was solid. Tanner McKee was good. They even did a tush push with Kenny with the broken ribs. So we'll see what that means moving forward. But Tanner McKee looked very, very strong back there in the pocket. Maybe, just maybe, proving that he could be the backup moving forward for next year. Defense was outstanding. They did exactly what they needed to do. Eagles are still 4-0 since they brought back the Kelly Green jerseys. We lost our bet, but who cares? I did not expect the Cowboys to just be as bad as they were, especially the way they've been playing. So that's one of those bets that I'll take that we lost. I think we need to really take a hard look at Nick Sirianni. I mean, this dude deserves a ton of credit for yesterday's game. Backup quarterback, you had your third string quarterback in there, and he had that team ready to play. 47 wins in his first 4 seasons. I saw the stat on the screen. Second all-time only to George Seifert. And I do think that what this does is kind of tell you that maybe, just maybe, Nick Sirianni isn't a bad coach. Everybody, the talk coming in was, what does he do? He doesn't do anything. He's a loose cannon. However, I think that was his best performance of the season yesterday. having that team ready to rally around a backup quarterback like that, I mean, that cannot be overlooked. Jake Elliott seems to be out of his slump, which is good. This is just a special team. Very, very special team. The sky's the limit. It looks like they might, depending on how things come out, it'll either be Washington or Green Bay who they're playing in the first round. I don't really have a preference either way, but this team is special, and I really will be monitoring Jalen's health and seeing where they are. Because I would prefer him to get some reps, not necessarily a full game, not even maybe a half, but just some reps. Treat it like one of those old school preseason games back when the starters would play. But great win, 41-7 for the Eagles over the Cowboys. It's always a little bit more special to clinch the division against the Cowboys. But those are kind of my initial takes from the game. The big talk, like I said, is going to be Saquon, whether or not he should play, chase the record. And I think you kind of base it on Jalen's health. And like I said, I mean, we can breathe. We can breathe. It's been a very special year. And like I said, I think the sky is the limit for this team. But let's go back and look at yesterday's 3 keys to the game. First key, I say keep the emotions in check. It is the Cowboys. And I think for the most part, they did that. It was definitely a little chippy, but that's what you would expect from an Eagles-Cowboys game. There was the fight on special teams. But I think for the most part, they did a nice job. It had been very easy. There was a couple late hits there on Kenny Pickett to get fired up. But I think they did a good job keeping their emotions in check. So I was very pleased with that. Second key was set Kenny up for success, and they did try to get him set up early. Kind of off to a slow start there in the first quarter. I think the rhythm was out of whack due to CJ having the interception and the offense not even getting onto the field till about midway through the first quarter. But I think after a slow start, he was able to kind of settle down and looked competent running the offense, I think, for the most part. I think Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett both look very competent, and it's just amazing what you can do with a week's worth of practice and not having him get thrown in there. But I think he got going, and the defense set them up, and that was the third key. The defense, I thought, needed to carry the load, and they certainly did. They had a sack, 4 turnovers, a touchdown, held the Cowboys to 268 yards. Dowdle got going. He rushed for over 100 yards. However, a lot of those yards came in semi-garbage time after the game was pretty much out of reach. They didn't give up really many big plays. So I think the defense did what they needed to do. And I think the 3 keys, the Eagles hit them, and that, of course, is why they won. All right, so who is the GOAT of the game? Excuse me, it's time for that. Every Monday, we take a look at who should be the greatest of all time of the game. I think you got 3 guys that really stood out yesterday. Saquon, obviously, with 167 yards, getting the 2,000 for the season. CJ with 2 interceptions and a touchdown, or Devontae 6 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Your turn to vote. Who is the GOAT of the game? Is it Saquon, CJ, Devontae? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Let me know who your GOAT of the game was. Give me any other thoughts about the game. It's all fair game as we close out the year here. All right, so some housekeeping notes. First of all, follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott at Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Lots of good things happening in 2025. Still got to try to play around this week with some things for presentations and things like that. But thank you for your support in 2024. I'm looking to hit the ground running in 2025. We've been featured in the On Pattison newsletter, so be sure to check them out. But just a lot of great things happening. Check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. They're doing some great things. That's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat. It's time to celebrate. Celebrate the NFC East Division champ. Get the Birdwing shoes. Look at these things. They are phenomenal. I'm telling you, they're comfortable, just like the other shoes that Philly Goat does. They're high tops, but they're like the canvas Chuck Taylors, but they have way more ankle support than what you would get in a Chuck Taylor. These things are comfortable. These things are great. Get these. Get them in time for the playoffs. Celebrate the NFC East. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery. Get the Bird Wings. Get a fly shirt. Get yourself ready for Eagles playoff football. All right. One other quick housekeeping note. We are going to be doing, for the month of January, we're going to try to get some good karma here for the Eagles and the rest of our teams. The focus is going to be on forgiveness. Everybody does New Year's resolutions. It's played out. It's not necessarily what we want. However, we're going to forgive some people, change the karma. And that could be a player that played here, an opponent, manager, coach, whoever, front office. We're forgiving people. We're in the forgiveness business here, trying to get that good karma, cleanse our palate, so to speak, get the aura and the whatever you want to call it, get it going and get some positive energy as the Eagles get ready to go on this run. So if there's anybody you know that you would like to see or would like to forgive, hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Like I said, I keep adding names to the list. I'm going to be making the final 31 later today probably. So if you have anybody that you need or want to forgive, let me know. But we're changing the karma here. The new Philly mentality is coming back. We're going to let go of all of that negativity, all of that baggage, and we're going to just start fresh in 2025 by forgiving someone every day throughout the month of January. So if there's anybody you want to see forgiven or you'd like to forgive, hit me up. Let me know. Maybe they can be added to the list. All right, Flyers lost yesterday out in LA 5-4. In a game where they had a 4-3 lead going into the third period. Once again, they had their struggles in holding a lead. LA's not a bad team, though. So I guess that it's not the end of the world, but you hate to see them losing the lead like that. Mishkov with a goal and an assist. Scotty Lawton had a goal and an assist. But they continue their West Coast trip, losing to the Kings 5-4 after having a 4-3 lead heading into the third period. Sixers are in Portland tonight in a very winnable game. Should see Joel Embiid tonight. I would imagine. I can't see after having a day off or so why we would not see him. But obviously, I think every game this year, you got to think that he's going to go into it questionable. But a very winnable game tonight for the Sixers out in Portland. All right, today, we're going to go back to 1995. And on this day in 1995, it was the NFC wildcard game at the Vet versus the Lions. And this one was all Eagles. The Eagles won 58-37. At the time, the 58 points was the third most points scored by a team in a postseason game, the most in the Super Bowl era. That was the Super Bowl era record was broken by the Jacksonville Jaguars, believe it or not, in the year 2000 when they put up 62 against the Dolphins. And if you are keeping score at home, 73 is the most points scored in a playoff game. That was the Bears in 1940. This game is probably most remembered for what happened before the game. All-pro tackle Lomas Brown for the Lions said basically that the Lions were going to win and it would be over quickly. Well, he was half right because this game was certainly over quickly. Eagles had a 38-7 lead at halftime, including a Hail Mary from Rodney Peete to Rob Carpenter right before the half. Rodney Peete was outstanding, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns. Charlie Gardner had 78 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Arkansas, Fred Barnett, 109 yards and a touchdown. Ricky Waters, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. But I think it was more about the defense. They forced 7 turnovers on that Detroit Lions team that had Scott Mitchell at quarterback, Barry Sanders at running back. Herman Moore was their star receiver. But 7 turnovers, 2 sacks, scored 2 touchdowns. And more importantly, this was peak Barry Sanders. They held him to 40 yards. Now, some of that was game flow because the Eagles got out to such a big lead. But the defense was just outstanding on this day in 1995. It set up a divisional playoff game against the Cowboys, who back then it was the Eagles-Cowboys peak of their rivalry. But we'll get more on that game next week. Today, though, it was all about the wild card game in 1995 down at the Vet. Eagles beating the Lions 58-37. The defense just exploded. Rodney Peete had himself a day, and it seemed as though everybody got involved in the scoring for the Eagles that day. So that happened on this day, 1995, 58-37, Eagles over the Lions in the NFC wildcard game. We'll have more on the Sixers tomorrow. Be sure to let me know who you want to see forgiven. Vote on your go to the game. Is it Saquon, CJ, GJ, or Devontae Smith? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Go to Philly Goat. Buy the shoes today. Why not? Celebrate. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. We will have more coverage too as we kind of figure out and see what the plan for Saquon and the starters are going forward. Like I said, if it was me, I would treat it as an old school preseason game. Get them some reps, keep them sharp, and let Tanner McKee take over for the last 3 quarters, last 2 quarters, whatever it is. But at least give him a shot to hit that record. But you don't want to do it at the detriment of the team. If you want to let me know your thoughts on whether Saquon should play or not, that's also fair game for the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let's have some fun on a Victory Monday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 30th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, go Birds.